everyone. Today we will be filming a short video documentary on whether or not Singapore was an advanced civilization. Today with me I have my group members here. Maxine, Charlene, Shani, and Hannah. We hope you will like this video documentary of ours and learn a lot from this. So sit back and enjoy. Until very recently, Singaporeans thought their island was nothing but an idyllic fishing village prior to the arrival of the British in 1819. Little did they know that underneath their feet lay the remains of an ancient kingdom. In this video documentary, we will explore the history of Singapore before 1819 and whether it was an advanced civilization.
Is that tall?
So what is an advanced civilization? Firstly, an advanced civilization has a government structure. This led to having international relationships with other kingdoms or countries. They also had occupations that affected the economy and lifestyle of the people. These are the factors of an advanced civilization, but did early Singapore meet these criteria of an advanced civilization? We will now explore whether early Singapore met these criteria of being an advanced civilization.
Had relationships with other countries and kingdoms. The artifact for Soswan is a gold amulet found at Fort Canning Hill in the 14th century, which is currently at the National Museum of Singapore. The design on the amulet, the motif of the Hindu Kala, suggests that there had been traders from India, showing the international relationships of Singapore. Gold coins from Sri Lanka has also been found. Porcelain and ceramics with Chinese motifs have been discovered too. These suggest that there had been immigrants and/or traders from other countries, such as China, India, and Sri Lanka. In this way, there had been economical relationship through trading. At the same time, there had been cultural exchange through the design and culture and traditions brought over by the natives of that country. Thus, this proves that Singapore had a cultural and economical exchange with other countries or kingdoms.
Singapore had an economy that affected occupations and living conditions. The first source that supports this is about hornbill casks found in the Malay Peninsula and are solid enough to be carved, like ivory. These hornbill casks are very valuable as they could be used to make items such as rings, earplugs, and potions. The rhinoceros hornbill was from Timbang Sedang, Sumatra, Indonesia, and the great pied hornbill was from Teratau Island in the Straits of Malacca, Thailand. They are thought to be from the 13th and 14th century and are on display at the National Museum of Singapore. These hornbill casks being traded from the Malay Peninsula and China shows that Singapore before 1819 had good relations with other countries. For countries to trade such valuable hornbills to Singapore, they would have had trusted Singapore, meaning that Singapore would have had good connections with these countries as well, and this trading also gave early Singapore an economic boost. Now, moving on, I will be talking about Singapore's living conditions before 1819. I will be using an extract from Wang Darian's account on Singapore before 1819 from the textbook, Singapore, The Making of a Nation State, 13,000 to 1975. Wang Darian visited Singapore around 1330 and wrote his travel accounts in 1349. According to his written account, the living conditions in Singapore were quite poor as the people then did not have fertile soil to grow crops well and had irregular weather conditions. This caused the people to face problems regarding farming and agriculture. However, the people came up with ways and solutions to invent new things by improvising with whatever resources available. This tells us that the people then were innovative as they knew how to make use of all the materials that they had. Now we will explore whether early Singapore had a variety of occupations. This will fall under the category of having an economy which resulted in occupations and diverse living conditions. To support our conclusions, we will be using a newspaper article from newspaper SG, written in 1939 about early Singapore. This article talks about the Orang Laut and how they lived by fishing. From this, it is evident that there were fishermen even when Singapore was first inhabited, and to be able to survive, many more occupations are needed. This also tells us about a Chinese trader, Wang Dayang, and some of the incidents that he mentioned in his accounts of early Singapore. The presence of a trader shows that early Singapore was engaged in trade with China, showing the presence of other traders and merchants. To trade, products of trade are also necessary, showing that there might have been other occupations for the production of these products, like artisans and craftsmen. He also mentions about an attack by 17 Siamese drunks, and Singaporeans managed to defend the island, which shows the presence of well-trained soldiers. These evidences support our conclusion and show us a variety of occupations that early Singapore had.
We'll be talking about how Temasek had a government structure. Sang Nila Utama was an astute ruler, and he ruled Singapore in the 14th century. He realized that to effectively manage and govern the country, he needed to have a succession and grooming of the next rulers. Thus, he started a line of rulers. By having their capital at Fort Canning, he has also effectively built up his defense against enemies. Should an enemy attack, he has more time to gather his troops and prepare a counterattack. To boost Singapore's economy, he turned Singapore into a bustling trading port. He commanded a group of Orang Laos to conduct their activities along the main sea route by using the river. The Orang Laos also knew how to gather items required for fighting and boating skills. These items will allow them to maintain a peaceful lifestyle, but yet be ready when the need arises.
Good morning, Professor Sanya. Thank you for joining this interview. I would like to ask you a few questions about early Singapore. Would you please share your knowledge about early Singapore before 1819 with our viewers?
Yes, of course. In fact, it will be my pleasure to.
Alright, so we'll start with the first question. How was life for the citizens of Singapore? How was the living spaces like?
Life was not easy for people living in Singapore at that time. Agriculture was difficult because of the poor soil condition, which in turn made rearing of animals difficult, as they had lesser food to eat and were not so active. So they had to survive mainly on fishing, thus getting the name Fishing Village, by which it is greatly known. Life was however peaceful for them, and they lived in close-knit communities without barriers between homes. They lived in small attached houses, except for one big house that housed about 30 families, which was at the Mongong's house.
Would you consider early Singapore as an advanced civilization?
Yes, of course I would. It met all the criteria of an advanced civilization.
Thank you, Professor, for taking part in this interview. I'm sure our viewers would have learned something from you.
Thank you so much for calling me to this interview. It was my honor too.
Good morning, everyone. Today, two teams will be battling out in the finals to see who will take home the grand prize of $1 million. On the supporting team, we have Hannah and Maxine, while on the opposing team, we have Sanya and Shani. Today's topic will be, was Singapore an advanced civilization before 1890? I will be today's judge and I will be concluding and starting today's debate. Let's start with Maxine.
The 4 factors of an advanced civilization will include having a presence of government, writing system, international relationships, and occupations.
Would the second speaker like to add on?
I'll use my chance the next round.
As Maxine mentioned, an advanced civilization was have writing systems. However, Singapore before 1819 did not have a writing system, which is an essential criteria for being an advanced civilization.
I would like to add on that having cultural beliefs is also an important factor of being an advanced civilization. Singapore did not have that.
Singapore did have a writing system, as can be seen on the Singapore Stone. They may not have created a writing system of their own, but they still did use the writing system of India. The Singapore Stone has been written in Sanskrit. And to come to the point of not having cultural beliefs, it's not a must that a country must have superstitious beliefs and worship deities just to prove that they are advanced.
But how do you know that Singapore did not create a writing system? Okay, you might say that not having created a writing system means that they had a writing system which they used, be it of whichever country. However, don't you think that when we say having a writing system is an essential part, it means creating a writing system of our own?
In the point when you said that, I did mention that people did come over, isn't that already a proof that they did have international relationships, which is still another part of being an advanced civilization? And there's no reason for one person to create a new writing system when they already have another one that's brought down to them.
After hearing the arguments from both the teams, we have come to the conclusion that Singapore was an advanced civilization before 1890. Based on the key points that there was a presence of government and writing system, and the evidence of Singapore having rulers such as Sang Nila Utama and having a writing system of Sanskrit. I now conclude that the supporting team has won.
We've now come to the end of this video documentary. We hope that you learned much more about Singapore before 1819 from this video documentary of ours. And do not think that Singapore was just a quiet fishing village. It was much more than that. Thank you. Really hope that you have enjoyed it and learned a lot.